Okay, so let's see if this works. Last time I tried to upload something, it didn't work, so let's see if this works. Basically, I'm trying to, I'm trying to, do a little thing for my Darling Panlix blog here. I'm too lazy to write fanfic stuff, so I'm basically doing vlogs because that's how I roll. And so I'm basically going to be making videos describing my story, and hope you like it, and hope more people follow me on this blog, because it's a pretty cool story, if I do say so myself. I like it much better than what's going on in the show, but I kind of like I used the show for inspiration. Um, so anyway, obviously, Darling Panlix, you watch Once Upon a Time, which clearly you do because this is going to be tagged. Um, Darling Panlix is Peter, Wendy, Felix. It's the three of them. And in my story, Wendy is more like with Felix, and Peter is kind of like, he's the leader of the gang, and I call them the Neverlanders. I'm going to be making a photo edit with them. I'll be making photo edits along with these videos, these vlog videos, um, because that's what I do mainly is do photo edits. But I figure, since I'm too lazy to type it all out, I'd rather just talk about it, talk about my story, and y'all can like comment below and or comment on Tumblr and like reblog the videos and comment. Um, Basically, I don't know all the details, but hopefully if they do a Neverland spin-off that we will know more details about the, how it originally went when the Darlings first came to Neverland. Um, um, Obviously I think we know that Wendy came, to save Bay. But in my story, she stayed because, well, A, she didn't have a choice, she had to stay, and B, she grew rather fond of the lads, um, and she became like part of the gang. She more or less she fell for, well, she kind of had a little bit, she kind of has a little bit of a crush on Peter, but she's more or less in love with Felix, and him with her, like they're the couple. Um, and I read a pretty cool one shot um, somebody wrote on Tumblr about like Felix's sister had like she was like with Pan, um, and they were having some real sexy times. So I guess I could add that to my story. Pretend Felix had a sister, um, but she died, and they're not really sure how she died, but uh, now he kind of suspects Peter, like after the whole thing with Peter betraying him. Oh, by the way, um, I should let you know that my stories have lot to do with vampires. I make my characters turn into vampires sometimes because that's how I roll. It's a good plot hole convenience to save the characters by making them vampires. And by the way, my kinds of vampires are, I base them off of if you've seen the Vampire Diaries show, those kind of vampires where the vampires are generally made. Wendy became a vampire first by because Peter was, he was trying to find a way to live forever, and he was experimenting on this potion thing, and Wendy volunteered to be a guinea pig for it, and because she has this thing where she's always kind of been afraid of growing old and dying, so she wanted it anyway because she was like, I don't know, I know they were on Neverland, but still, like, it wasn't a guarantee they'd be able to be there forever, you know. And um, so she took it and she became a vampire. But typically, it's like I said about the Vampire Diaries type of vampires. Vampires generally created by you have to ingest the blood of a vampire, then die, then when you wake up, you have to feed within the next 24 hours, or you will definitely die permanently. Um, But if you do feed, then that completes the transition and you're a vampire and you can only be killed by a stake through the heart or being burned. So anyway, Wendy became a vampire first. She's with Felix. He doesn't become a vampire until, if you've all watched the Going Home episode in season 3, part 1, um, and when Peter rips out Felix's heart and crushes it, remember that scene? Um, Shut up, Vinny! That's my cat. Um, and so, but before that happens, somehow, um, I think I think it's like basically that, Peter, Wendy, and Felix, they're all, besties. They're like, they're look out for each other, like a pack, kind of like family. But they're like, they care for each other and they fight for each other and all that. But kind of Pan's whole thing was involving Felix's heart. Um, I guess he could have used either Wendy or Felix, but he decided on Felix. But he knew that Wendy was a vampire and could give him vampire blood so that after he crushes his heart he could still wake up, because the whole thing is that yes, he crushed his heart, but that whole thing with ripping the hearts out with magic, that's it's obviously, if you look at the heart, I mean, first of all, the person's still walking around and talking, and if that was their actual heart, I mean, you can't function without your heart. So I call it like the magical heart, or kind of like the essence. So like it's kind of like the life force. So the physical heart is still in the body, but the emotional heart is being controlled by someone. Um, And so you can if when Peter rips out his heart, if Felix has vampire blood in him, he could still come back because his physical heart is still intact. Um, so that's what happens basically. But still, the whole thing of um, him having to use Felix's heart to enact the curse is kind of like Peter kind of sprung that on them last minute. He's like, "Oh, by the way, Felix, I'm gonna need your heart, because I'm gonna crush it and kill you, because I need to enact this curse." And he's like, "Whoa, wait, I didn't sign up for that." Um, and so it was all kind of like he he suggested, "Oh, maybe you should give him some vampire blood." He didn't really say why. And Wendy's like, "Okay." And then, so the whole scene, remember, by the well, where he enacts the curse, rips out Felix's heart, that was all kind of like, he didn't tell them about that ahead of time. But he did make sure that Felix would survive, but still, it's a pretty big betrayal, because, Felix didn't know what was going on. For all he knew, he was dead, permanently. And Wendy was pretty upset about that too. So that whole series of events that happened in Going Home is kind of like took Wendy and Felix both aback quite, because they've been Benny, my cat, um, they've been really loyal to him and everything, and this is kind of a big front, um, so but still, when they think Peter dies, at the end of Going Home, um, it's like they're sad. They're really sad, but then I have it that he didn't actually stay dead. But I'll explain that in another video. Um, that when he comes back, and he's back in their lives, they're kind of like not sure how to react anymore because they're like still kind of thinking about how he betrayed them and everything. Um, but anywho, oh yeah, and the Darling brothers are vampires too. The vampires, in throughout all their time on Neverland were Wendy, and then John and Michael. Because I figure in my mind that makes more sense as to how they've been alive all this time in this world, because they weren't in Neverland the whole time. So I mean that makes most sense to me. Or to my story anyway. And then Felix becomes a vampire after the events of going home. Um, and and I think that's basically how that all goes. And so I will continue explaining the rest in future videos, and hope you like the story so far, and hope you check out the rest of my videos to find out more of my story, because I'm cooking up ideas all the time. So, see you around, and I hope this video uploads properly, and hashtag Neverland spinoff.